everybody, and welcome back. We are here to do the first challenge for the Warm Winter Wishes kit. First things first, I'm happy to say that my printer is now working. I'm so excited. I have printed off the full kit. I'm going to very quickly flick through the pages because on my previous video on Friday when I released the kit, it was just kind of a digital flip through. So I'm just going to very quickly show you the pages if you haven't seen them already. I will have the links down below. You can buy this kit either in my Etsy shop or it is in my Ko-fi. It is 20% off. That is automatic on Etsy. However, on Ko-fi it's not automatic. There is a code, but all of that is linked down below. But it is 20% off for the whole month, so from the 7th of November to the 7th of December. I can only do a month. It only allows me to do a sale for a month. That's why it's only up till then. But yeah, it's the Warm Winter Wishes. It's 20 pages. Like I said, I'm just going to do a very quick whiz through. I've tried to keep it quite winter themed. There is obviously an element of Christmas if you want those Christmassy pages, but it is mostly kind of winterish. So if you are somebody that doesn't want Santas and all sorts of things, Christmassy things in your pages, this is a bit more of a kind of toned down Christmas, but really lovely, beautiful images. It's quite neutral, quite cozy and warm. And then obviously we've got some backing pages as well. As usual, lots of journaling space. Lots of places to write. This one is very pale. I'm not sure how well it shows up on camera, but there is a faint music sheets, Christmassy music sheets in the background. We then have these pages. So you've got a kind of collaged on one side, plain on the other. We've then got some pictures added as well. And we've got these ones. And then you've got your ephemera pages. So usual kind of things, always a couple of envelopes because I do love an envelope. We've got some pockets, some more fussy cuts. So we've got some labels, some stamps and things. We've got some tags and some tabs. And then some journaling cards there. So that's the full kit. Really sorry that you couldn't get to see that full flip through on the Friday. As I said, unfortunately my printer was not working, but after a good swift kick and a good talking to, it is now working. So I've printed off the full kit. The freebies for this week. So there are 3 freebie pages. You can find these either in the Non-Stop Papercrafts Facebook group. I will create an album that's called Warm Winter Wishes. Or if you do not have Facebook or you do not use Facebook, they will also be in my Ko-fi shop. Also for free, you just put a 0 for the amount and then you can have them. I'm just turning it this way just so obviously you can see all of the pictures. But we have a wreath, we've got a fireplace. Well, I don't know, you could use it as a bauble, I guess. You've got the number 25, you've got an actual bauble and a scarf there. So you've got those. And then you've got 2 pages after that. So you've got this one, which has that kind of collage. You've got the plain, and then it's plain white on this side. I've actually printed it twice because the other sheet has Merry Christmas and Warm Winter Wishes, and then there's a faint grey line. That is because these are intended to make Christmas cards with. So I have printed this on 300 GSM, so it is nice and thick. I still obviously need to trim it down, but I thought I'd do that with you. I have printed it twice so I could make obviously a few different cards, but yeah, all I've done is I've printed this on one side and then on the other side I've got this. If perhaps you don't want a Christmassy card, I have got Warm Winter Wishes, so it could just be maybe a winter card, kind of keeping in touch with somebody. It's entirely up to you. Obviously, if you don't want these messages at all inside, then you would just print this side and have nothing on the reverse, so you can put your own sort of sentiment or message inside. So let's get on with the challenge then. So as I said, we're making greetings cards. If you are somebody that doesn't send greetings cards at Christmas time or in the winter, then you could make some journaling cards instead. So obviously just cut out this rectangle and have a journaling card that you can decorate. So I don't mind which way round you do it. I do send Christmas cards, so I am going to make mine as they are intended. So let's chop it in half first. Now, hopefully this will line up nicely. So I'm going to trim it there. Now I did make that line really, really faint. However, obviously if you can still see it, and I can just see it slightly on this one. So I'm just going to cut just a hair off, just to kind of get rid of that silver or that very faint grey line. So that's it, just that little slither. And I've now got my 2 cards. Now because my printer was printing with a border, I do obviously have a little bit of a trimming to do. So I'm going to take a little bit off of this side first, because this side obviously has the picture. Then I'm going to wait till I've scored it so I can see exactly where I need to trim it. I'm going to do the same on this side. Although on this one I also need to trim some from the bottom. Yes, I have no idea what was going on with my printer. I think basically the magenta was clogged. So yeah, now it is all back up and running, thankfully. But yeah, it was a bit of a pain because it just seemed like the worst time for the printer to not be working. Right, I need to trim a tinsy bit off the top. I'm going to cut it in half while I've got the paper this way round. That bit at the bottom, and I can't see the grey line. It's got a little bit on this side, so again just going to cut a teensy tiny bit just to get rid of that grey. Right, okay, so that's my cards pretty much cut down to size. Like I said, I've got to score them next, so I'm just going to grab my scoreboard. Okay, and then I'm going to go by this side. Yeah, and I'm just going to line it up here and score down there. And now I can immediately see where I need to trim on this side. But I can do that in a moment. So I'm going to do the same for each of them. So I'm just kind of lining it up roughly where the 6-inch mark is. Fold it in half. There's my next one. As I said, if you do not wish to make greetings cards, you absolutely do not have to. You can just make a journaling card. So that's also an option. Okay. So now that we've done that, I'm going to put this away. I'm going to use my smaller trimmer just to obviously get rid of that little edge there. Okay, that's better. Right, fabulous. That's that bit done. Let's get rid of all that rubbish. Okay, so I've now got 4 cards. So 2 of them have the kind of tea stained, and there's a very faint snowflake print on there. And then this one obviously has a bit more of the collage. Now, one thing I have done, and again, you can play around with this. So if you decided to keep your inside blank for your own sentiment, you could still print out this page, because you could cut out the Merry Christmas, or use a circle punch, and then you can use that as a sentiment on the front if you wish to. I am somebody that does make cards, so I do have a lot of kind of Christmassy stamps. So I have stamped a few. So I've got Merry Christmas, from our home to yours, merry and bright. Being with you makes Christmas special, and peace, love, hope, health and happiness. So I've got some sentiments that I've already just quickly stamped. These are just scrap pieces, and then I use those to kind of create my little sentiment strips. So now I just need to decide which ones I would like to put on here. So I really like the bauble, the fireplace, and maybe these two. Yeah, so I think I'm going to start with those. So let's get those cut out. Now, I was debating using my Cricut to cut these out, but I thought actually they're not bad shapes, so they're not going to be too awful to cut out. So let's see. So I'm not going to do that one today. That's probably the hardest one to cut out, but then I would just cut around it as if a die cut would. So I obviously would go into all of the different bits and pieces, but I would just kind of cut round that one if I was going to do that one today. But like I said, I really like this one. So I'm just going to cut round the bauble first. Now I've also printed these on 300 GSM just so they're a little bit thicker. Now you can of course use foam pads to make things pop up a little bit. I know obviously you've just got to be careful because obviously postage costs. Okay, so I've got all of my different bits and pieces cut out. So now I can start having a little bit of a think about what I would like where. So let's have a look how each of these look. So because this is quite blue, I probably don't want it on the blue background because then it's going to get lost. So I think I quite like that one on here. This one looks quite nice on there actually. Possibly the fireplace on here and the scarf on that one. So I think that's kind of how I'm going to have it. Now this one, I think I also want to add some ribbon. Okay, just grab some green ribbon because I thought since it's a green bauble we can use that. So I did think, I don't know what I've done with it now, it's probably flown off my desk somewhere, but I did have the little sort of 25 thing, but I've cut it off because it's not on there. It's disappeared. It's somewhere. I'm probably going to find it stuck to my forehead or something by the time I move away from the camera. But anyway, we'll work without it. I'm sure I can find something else. So for this one, let's start here, shall we, since I've got those bits ready. So for this one, I was thinking of having some ribbon tied around here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to carefully just snip that top bit off. And then using my crocodile, I'm just going to punch a hole. I might use the smaller one actually because I don't think I'm going to need the big one. Punch a hole in there. So it's just enough to be able to get this through. Like so. Now I kind of did want a charm, so let me just have a little look what I've got. Okay, so I've got this teeny little star that I think I'm going to use. I don't know if I want it dangling a little bit though, or if I'm just going to have it straight off of the ribbon. Let's try it straight on the ribbon and see how it looks. Yeah, I think that will probably work. I want something else in the background as well. Okay, so I'm just going to use some music paper, just so there's something else kind of going on in the background. Now obviously it's not going to completely fit, so I have to try and just tear it down. And I think possibly needs something to frame that a little bit. Let's see what we've got. Okay, so I've got some forest moss. I think I might use that just to kind of go around the bauble a little bit. Just to move that out of the way. Just because this is obviously a darker green. It might just help make it kind of stand out that little bit more as well. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, so let's try and stick some of these bits down. So the bauble goes about there. Now I did use different music elements in the actual kit as well, so this also helps make it go. So if I was going to make a journaling card to go with the kit, this would actually work using some music paper. Right, so I want the bauble about there. Now, like I said, you can raise this up onto foam dots. I'm not, purely because I am going to be posting these, so I don't want it to be too bulky. So I'm just going to stick that down there. Okay, I'm just going to snip this off here a second. And then I think I might just grab, actually the glue might be okay. I was thinking to get a glue dot, but I think the glue might be good enough for this. So just a tiniest blob of glue just to kind of hold that in place. And then I can snip these off. Okay, so there's a card. Now we could have Merry Christmas. Merry and bright. I think I might leave the sentiment till I've finished, actually. So I'm just going to leave that one to the side for now. But there's one. So we've got a bauble with a little star, some music paper in the background. There's card number 1. What have we got next? So we've got these two. So for those, I think I'm going to use a blue. And again, I'm just going to, oh, actually, I might use a grey rather than a blue. So I've got Hickory Smoke. And again, if you want to make it super festive, you can go round in a red. I thought since we've got kind of the greys coming in at the sides, that would work. Right, so now that we've got that, I'm thinking some lace in the background. Again, I'm just trying to keep it quite thin. You don't want anything too thick. So we've got a piece of lace running through, although you're not really seeing much of it, are you? This one's a bit taller. I never know which way round this lace goes. Is it that way or is it that way? I think it's that way. Okay, so if that was in the middle, we could have that. And I don't actually have much red, but I've got this one. So I don't know whether you have those two bits behind. And then again, maybe if I pull it down, the sentiment then at the top. Yeah, let's go with that, shall we? So how much of this do we need? Not quite so much, so I'm just going to trim it off about there. I am trimming over only because at least then I can just cut off the edge if I need to. So if it's going to come a bit lower, about there is where we want it stuck down. Okay. I'm just going to lift it up and add some more glue down the bottom. And then I'm just going to lay something on top just to weigh it down for a moment. It's quite a quick drying glue, so it's just to kind of get it laying flat. Right, we've then got this one, which I think would probably look better that way up. So again, about there. And again, just going to pop something heavy on top for a second. I say heavy, just weighted. It's not really that heavy. Now, because I have got the bulk of the lace and the ribbon underneath, I am going to need some foam dots for this. I'm just going to quickly grab some. Okay, so I've got some foam dots. Let's pull that off now. And then this is going to go over the top. So it's not too bad with the lace, but obviously where I've now got this as well, that does just bulk it. So I'm going to put some of the foam squares just kind of along the top. And the bottom. And then I'm just going to place it where I would like it. So just trying to center it about there. And again, I'm just going to use the edge of the card just to kind of guide where I need to cut. I can always flip it over just to get a cleaner edge as well. I can see I need to trim a little bit off of that edge as well. Okay, so that's that one, also ready for a sentiment. So let's put that to the side. That leaves these two. So might leave that one for today because obviously I don't want this video being too long. I will do this one though, however. And I'm going to use some cheesecloth just to kind of give it that snowy, wintry at the back. So let's just rough this up a little bit. Okay, and then in keeping, I think again I might have a little bit of music paper kind of coming down. Don't like that that's such a straight edge though. Let's try and do something about that. So something like that. And I've just thought of something else fun that I might be able to use is some washi tape. So I'm going to start sticking some bits down. But then, yeah, I do want to add, I think, a little bit of washi tape as well. Okay, so that can go along there. Then if the scarf was going here, we could have that about there. About there, like so. And then, like I said, maybe a bit of washi tape as well. Okay, then we've got this. Now, do I go around that in a red like I suggested? I think I might do actually. Just makes it pop a little bit more from the card. Right, okay, so that's that one. Don't know whether I want to glue that one flat. I think I do. Or do I want to pop it up? I think I might actually pop it up. I've changed my mind. Like I said, you obviously think about your postage costs and how extravagant you're willing to make your cards. And obviously if you're putting these into a journal, you may not necessarily want to make them quite so 3D either, because obviously then they're difficult to slot into pockets and things, and they'll bulk out your journal extremely quickly. So just some things to think about. Okay, so this I'm going to put lower down, I think, and then have my sentiment up at the top. Right, so like I said, I have still got another card I could possibly do, but I don't want to make this video too long. So got my 3 cards. They just now need their sentiments. So inside this one it says warm winter wishes. I think these two then just say Merry Christmas. Yes, they do. So I obviously want to have something different on the front. So if these ones are Christmassy, this one is more wintry. Let's have a look. So I quite like that one. Being with you makes Christmas special, because it is with somebody. So maybe that one. Maybe that one can be merry and bright. And then this one, Merry Christmas. Yeah, okay. I do like the from our home to yours. Or do I like merry and bright? Oh, I don't know. Well, that one could be from our home to yours, and that one maybe have the being with you makes Christmas special. No, I think I'll keep it that way round. Now I've already got Merry Christmas, so I don't really want Merry Christmas again, do I? So I'm going to have from our home to yours and merry and bright. So I think I'll have this one merry and bright, this one from our home to yours. That's what I'll do. Okay, so I need to trim these all down a little bit. So I'm going to come in with this. I'm going to trim it a little bit closer to the edge. And I just need to think of how I'm going to do this end. So I could go at a slant. I could go in at a point, so it looks a bit like a flag. I think I might go up at a slant. Now I have no idea what degree angle this is. I'm just going for it. And that's going to go there like that. Okay, so being with you makes Christmas special. So we've got that one. And let's just trim these up a little bit. home to yours. Merry and bright. Right, so let's see what we got. So I'm thinking I might literally just stick that down. I'm just going to line that up roughly where the middle is. Stick that down. Like I said, I can chop off whatever comes off the sides. Okay, so from our home to yours, that's the next one. And the final one, oops, is not that. We've got Merry and Bright. So for this one, let's have a look at what punches I've got. Okay, so I've got this teeny tiny little star punch. So what I'm thinking is having a star on either side and maybe even rounding the corners. So let's bring this in, and that's probably not going to be enough. Let's try it about there. So I'm just trying to line it up roughly in the middle. Yeah, quite like that. Right, let me just see where I did this. Right there. I'm going to do the same on this side. And like I said, I'm just going to round the corners just so it's not quite so sharp. Okay, and then we've got Merry and Bright. I think I'm going to, I'll use this to lean on, just going to go over it very, very slightly with a blue. So I don't want it dark, so I'm just going to, oh, this is quite wet, I don't know if I want that. Okay, so it is slightly blue. I didn't want it too dark anyway, so that's absolutely fine. Right, let's move that out the way. Let's bring the card back in. There we go, just so it pops a little bit, and we could even tuck it under the cheesecloth a little bit. Although I do think that that needs to pop up as well, so you really notice those stars on the side. So I'm going to pop that up as well. So, Merry and Bright. Well, there we go then. They're my 3 examples for this challenge. Just a reminder, the challenge is to make either a Christmas card or a journaling card. So you don't have to have it folded like this. You could just have this front rectangle and have them in your journals if you wish to. I just really like making cards anyway, so I was hoping that this was going to be a really fun challenge for everybody. And doing them in November, I've now got plenty of time to write these out and post them off to their recipients. Just a reminder that you can get the paid kit for a 20% discount at the moment on Etsy and on Ko-fi. You can get the freebies either in the Non-Stop Papercrafts Facebook group. There will be an album called Warm Winter Wishes where you can grab all of the freebies. Each week over the next 4 weeks, I will be putting new freebies in there, so you can just keep going back to the same folder and that's where they'll be. On Ko-fi, you can also find these as well. They are for free. You just need to put a 0 in the amount when you go into the shop, and then you can download those as well for free. And again, each week I will put the new freebies there as well. Well, I really hope that you enjoyed this challenge. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you all in the next crafty video. Bye for now.